Hello students, in last video we have seen how electrons are transported across electron transport chain and at the same time how complex 1, complex 3 and complex 4 acts as a proton pump. These complexes pumps the proton to the intermembrane space from matrix. The electron transport via respiratory chain causes a proton gradient due to pumping of these protons, and these pumped protons will lead to synthesis of ATP. The flow of electrons through electron transport chain generates ATP by the process. The whole process is called as oxidative phosphorylation. So from here to here it is oxidation, and this oxidation is coupled with the help of these protons which are pumped outside. These will enter here and this lead to synthesis of ATP from ADP and PI. This is phosphorylation. So this is oxidation, this is phosphorylation. These are coupled together to form oxidative phosphorylation. The chemiosmotic theory proposed in 1961 by Peter Michel, it suggests that the two processes, oxidation and phosphorylation, are coupled with the help of this proton gradient across the inner mitochondrial membrane. What happens when protons are pumped outside? There is electropositivity outside. This is an electrical gradient, and when protons are pumped outside, there is acidity outside. This is chemical gradient, and together this electrical gradient and chemical gradient lead to a proton motive force, and due to this proton motive force, protons are derived from intermembrane space to the matrix, and along with this lead to synthesis of ADP, that is phosphorylation. Since the inner mitochondrial membrane is impermeable to ions and particularly to the protons, there occur these accumulated protons causes proton motive force, and due to this drive of this proton motive force, ATP is generated. A membrane located ATP synthase acts as a rotary motor. This is ATP synthesis complex 5. It consists of two parts, FO subunit and F1 subunit. FO subunit is called FO because it is oligomycin sensitive subunit, and it forms a proton channel. FO subunit is a phosphorylating unit where ADP and PI are attached to each other to form ATP. So the FO subunit is lying inside the inner mitochondrial membrane. It consists of C proteins, the chain of C proteins, and it is a channel for protons to enter. Attached to this FO subunit is the gamma subunit of F1 complex. So FO complex and F1 complex. In this F1 complex, there is gamma subunit, epsilon subunit, and 3 alpha and 3 beta subunits. These 3 alpha and 3 beta subunits are membrane bound and they do not move. But this gamma subunit, which is attached to these C proteins of FO subunit, which is channel for proton, moves. And when gamma subunit moves, it moves like a bent axle. Now what happens? See, these are alpha and beta units. Inside lies the site for ATP synthesis. These are present in three forms. One is a tight composition when ATP is synthesized and tightly bound. Second is a loose conformation in which ATP is released, and third is open conformation where ADP and PI enter into this site so that ATP can be synthesized. So there are three conformation of this alpha and beta subunit, that too beta subunit. This more occur at beta subunit. So there is a tight conformation where ATP is packed inside, a loose conformation where ATP is released, and an open conformation where ADP and PI can enter into this so that ADP is synthesized. So now what happens? Protons are passing through this FO subunit in proton channel due to proton motive force. This causes C protein to rotate. Rotating C protein, as gamma subunit is attached to it, gamma subunits also rotate, and it rotates like a bent axle. Gamma subunit is fit inside 3 alpha and 3 beta subunits, and these 3 alpha and 3 beta subunits are very tightly packed, and gamma axle is now moving inside as a bent axle. When gamma axle hits the beta subunit, this leads to loose conformation, leads to release of ATP. Now when this gamma handle moves forward, this causes the conformation change to open. ADP and PI will enter into beta subunit. Again, this gamma handle moves, ADP and PI will form ATP inside the beta subunit. So when gamma handle will hit one beta unit, it will release one ATP molecule. When it will hit another beta subunit, it will release second ATP molecule, and when it will hit third beta subunit, it will release third ATP molecule. The movement is same when gamma subunit hits the beta subunit. First ATP is released, then it changes the conformation where from loose to open, where ADP and PI enters inside, and then it makes a tight conformation. Again, when this gamma subunit hits, it will release ATP. So now gamma subunit has hit here, it will release ATP. Gamma subunit moves, it has moved to second beta subunit, it has released ATP, and finally gamma subunit has moved to third beta subunit, it has released its ATP. So per turn of this gamma axle, there occurs release of 3 ATPs, and it is estimated that approximately 12 protons should flow through this FO complex so that gamma subunit will complete its one rotation, or FO disk will complete its one rotation. So that during one turn of gamma axle, there occurs release of 3 ATPs, and for this 12 protons are required. This is called as binding change mechanism. Binding change mechanism. By heating of gamma unit, release of ATP, loose confrontation, then open conformation, and then tight conformation. For each mole of substrate oxidized via complex 1, 3 and 4. That is NADH is electron donor. Complexes 1, 3 and 4. How many protons are pumped? 4 here and 2 here. So 10 protons are pumped. While these 10 protons passes through this ATP synthase, 2.5 ATPs are synthesized. So we can say that per half mole of O2, 2.5 mole of ATP is synthesized. So pH2O ratio is 2.5. Now second scenario. If substrate is oxidized via complexes 2, 3 and 4. Now how many ATPs are pumped? Now how many protons are pumped? Protons are pumped at complex 3, 4 and at complex 4, 2 protons. So estimated total 6 protons are pumped, and when 6 proton passes through this ATP synthase or complex 5, only 1.5 ATP are synthesized. So we can say that half mole of oxygen is converted to water, 1.5 mole of ATP are synthesized. So pH2O ratio is 1.5 when electrons are accepted from the substrate like succinate, etc. Now this oxidation and phosphorylation are very tightly coupled. So oxidation cannot take place without phosphorylation of ADP. And so the rate of this biological oxidation or oxidative phosphorylation depends on availability of ADP, and the rate of oxidative phosphorylation is controlled by availability of ADP. If more ADP is available, more oxidative phosphorylation will take place. If less ADP is available, less oxidative phosphorylation will take place. Now let us see about inhibitors of respiratory chain, inhibitors of oxidative phosphorylation and uncouplers of oxidative phosphorylation. So coming first to inhibitors of respiratory chain. Various compounds inhibits transport of electron at various levels in electron transport chain or respiratory chain. So the compounds that inhibit flow of electron from complex 1 to coenzyme Q are amobarbital, pyridine A, and rotenone. In case of complex 2, malonate is a competitive inhibitor of succinate. Malonate is competitive inhibitor of succinate. The flow of electron from complex 2 to coenzyme Q is inhibited by carboxyne and TTFA. This is an ion chelating agent. Inhibitors of complex 3 are antimycin A, and dimercaprol. And inhibitors of complex 4 are H2S, carbon monoxide and cyanide. H2S, carbon monoxide and cyanide. So when complex 4 is inhibited, there is complete inhibition of respiratory chain, and hence the inhibitors of complex 4 are lethal. H2S, carbon monoxide and cyanide are lethal. These are inhibitors of respiratory chain. Which are they? At complex 1, amobarbital, pyridine and retinine. Malonate is a competitive inhibitor of succinate. From 2 to Q, carboxyl and TTFA. At complex 3, antimycin A and dimercaprol. At complex 4, H2S, carbon monoxide and cyanide. Now coming to inhibitors of oxidative phosphorylation. We have seen FO subunit is oligomycin sensitive subunit. So it is blocked by oligomycin. That means oligomycin will not allow flow of proton through FO subunit and thereby inhibiting the ATP synthesis. So first important inhibitor of oxidative phosphorylation is oligomycin, and second one is astractiloside. Astractiloside, it inhibits oxidative phosphorylation by inhibiting transporter, and this transporter will allow ADP inside the matrix and ATP outside the matrix. This transporter is inhibited by astractiloside, and so the two inhibitors of oxidative phosphorylation are oligomycin, which inhibits FO subunit, and astractiloside, which inhibits transporter, which allows ATP inside and ATP outside the mitochondrial matrix. And third important are the uncouplers. Uncouplers dissociates phosphorylation from oxidation. And these uncouplers are 2,4-dinitrophenol or 2,4-dinitrocresol. This compound dissociates oxidation from phosphorylation, thereby causing oxidation of unlimited, not rate limited process. Oxidation will go on continuously without net production of ATP. So what will happen to the exergonic process of oxidation or transport of electron? The exergonic process of electron transport now is captured as heat and heat is liberated. So this process is important in hibernating animals and newborn babies. And there is a compound, these are chemical uncouplers. There are some physiological uncouplers. The uncoupler is called as thermogenin. It is present in brown adipose tissue, amply present in newborn infants, and this thermogenin act as an uncoupler. It dissociates phosphorylation from oxidation, thereby ATP will not be synthesized but heat is synthesized by oxidation, and thereby baby is prevented from hypothermia. Similarly, free fatty acids also act as uncouplers, and thyroxine hormone acts as an uncoupler. So three uncouplers are two types of uncouplers. Chemical uncouplers are 2,4-dinitrophenol, 2,4-dinitrocresol, and physiological uncouplers are thermogenin, free fatty acid, thyroxine. In very high level, bilirubin also acts as an uncoupler. Two inhibitors of oxidative phosphorylation are oligomycin and astractiloside, and uncouplers of respiratory chain we have already seen. NADH are continuously produced in the cytosol by 3-phosphoglycerate dehydrogenase in glycolysis. Now these NADH are impermeable to inner mitochondrial membrane. In order to transfer the electrons from NADH to inside the mitochondria or matrix, there are two shuttle systems. One is glycerol phosphate shuttle and second one is malate shuttle. So let us see glycerol phosphate shuttle. In this shuttle, NADH and H plus combines with DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, it will form in presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and NAD plus is released. Now glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate crosses outer mitochondrial membrane, enter into intermembrane space. Again glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate in presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase is converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate, but instead of NAD, now the coenzyme required for this reaction is FAD. So FAD is converted to FADH2. So there is, during this transportation, in cytosol, NAD is produced. For the same reaction in mitochondrial inner membrane, FAD is produced. The second transporter of NAD is malate shuttle. In case of malate dehydrogenase, NADH and H plus combines with oxaloacetate to form malate. This malate enters into mitochondria where malate dehydrogenase acts on it, and this is cytosolic malate dehydrogenase outside and inside mitochondrial malate dehydrogenase, but both the reactions consume same coenzyme, that is NAD plus is converted to NADH and H plus. So there is no net loss of ATP during transport as malate shuttle. But in this malate shuttle, as oxaloacetate is not transported across inner mitochondrial membrane, it needed to be undergo transamination. So oxaloacetate is converted into alpha-ketoglutarate and glutamate is converted into aspartate. Now this alpha-ketoglutarate and aspartate are freely permeable to inner mitochondrial membrane, and by transamination they will form oxaloacetate in the outer in the cytosol. So for transfer of NAD, there exist two systems. One is glycerol phosphate shuttle, where NAD is glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase cytosolic and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase mitochondrial involve two different coenzymes that are NAD and FAD. Whereas in malate shuttle, malate dehydrogenase utilizes same coenzyme NAD outside and NAD in the cytosol and NAD in the mitochondria. Thus there is no loss of ATP while transportation of malate shuttle, but there is loss of 1 ATP during transportation by glycerol phosphate shuttle.